Welcome back, and I hope you have enjoyed the tea break. Before we begin the panel discussion, allow me to introduce our panelists for today. We have Mr. Chu Woo Hong, Partner, Tax, KPMG Singapore, who is also the moderator for the discussion. Ms. Chu Mok Lee, Assistant Chief Executive, Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Spring Singapore. Mr. Victor Tay Ka Soon, Chief Operating Officer, Singapore Business Federation. Mr. Song Seng Woon, Executive Director and Regional Economist, CIMB Research Private Limited, and Professor Sam Yi Long, Professor of Accounting Practice, Singapore Management University. Members of the audience who have questions to ask the panel may make use of the standing microphones located along the aisle of the auditorium. Alternatively, you may write your questions on a piece of paper and raise your hand to indicate to the usher station in the auditorium that you have a question to hand to them. Let us now put our hands together to welcome all the panelists. I will now hand the stage over to Mr. Chu to begin the session. Mr. Chu, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see the turnout so high, so many people. So, in fact, KPMG also organized a seminar like this. But not so many, not so many. And when I was talking to one of the participants, I said, why you come for this year's seminar? Especially the technical content, it's not so heavy. He said, I come because I want to know about the wage credit scheme and see whether my boss give me the right increment, And then I asked another lady, then she said, yeah, for the same reason. In fact, I bring along my bosses. So that could be the reason why the turnout is so high. But I think also because we have a very good speaker, Sam Yi Long, every year the ICPAS turnout is always that good. So today, we are very privileged to have this very distinguished panelists here with me. So hopefully we can give you some insights of what this year budget is all about, and more importantly, their views on how they see this budget. Whether is this a budget that the government thinks is going to make Singapore a better Singapore, focusing on the social aspect of Singaporeans, and also able to achieve a quality growth for Singapore. Okay, maybe to start with, maybe I'll ask the economist, Mr. Song, this question. We know that to achieve quality growth, Singapore need to step up efforts in restructuring the business operations, right? But on the other hand, a lot of businesses is saying, why do we need to do it so quickly? Why do we need to do it so urgently? And especially when the global economy is so slow, and why not we take a more relaxed approach or wait to see approach? What's your view on this, Mr.?
Okay, Won, I think that's a good start to the discussion itself. I suppose it is precisely because the global environment is going through perhaps a period of subdued growth, interest rate unusually low for an extended period of time, that we take this opportunity now. We are in a region where we are seeing perhaps growth that will lead the rest of the world for a period of time. Within the region here, competition for resources are already heating up. We're talking about the ones in the construction sector. It's not just Singapore which is putting in great effort to expand on the infrastructure. It's Indonesia, it's Malaysia, it is Thailand, it's the whole region. All these governments, after the Asian financial crisis, all of them do have much more stronger balance sheet now, and they do see the need to essentially drive domestic consumption as a source of growth. They've seen perhaps that external demand may not be able to help as much as they did in the previous 2 decades, but domestic demand could take some of the, I suppose, lead as the engine of growth. To do that, their income has to go up. Those with higher income, higher disposable income, spend more, which is why we continue to see hotels like this being very full, even though they have to pay through their nose to come to Singapore. Some of my relatives will come here to stay after exchange rate, easily fork out 500 ringgit a night before they step out of the door, for instance. Yet they're still coming. They're hoping to make it across the road from the casino, but I think most of them lost their pants. But anyway, the point here really is demand for resources is increasing, but yet we are still seeing period of subdued growth. So this is really, I suppose, the best time for businesses to effectively put themselves in stronger footing, being more efficient in running their business, in the way they deliver their business, in the way they construct or to manufacture as well, such that perhaps 5 years' time, 8 years' time, when the global economy is in more stable, firmer growth track, that they're able to take advantage fully of the growth opportunity, even more so than what we're seeing right now. Let's take, say, the construction sector, for instance. This is a period, because of the slower growth, that demand for materials from rebars to cement are relatively stable, despite the firmer demand within the region itself. Now, if you have forced business to restructure in an environment where growth is strong, it will put pressure on prices across all area, materials, wages, rentals, etc. So now the only consideration you have to look at really is less so about material costs, it's really about labor itself. So you have one less thing to worry about. So this is, I suppose, really the best time that we have to in a sense, step on the restructuring cycle itself, in that this opportunity, which is given to us when global economy is slower, when demand for resources is perhaps lessened, presents us with this opportunity. Because if we don't, over the next 3 to 5 years itself, interest rates start to climb, global demand recover because US is on, finally see unemployment rate drop perhaps to 6%, the European, somehow by luck or by design, get their act together. They will at the end of the day. They kick the can down the road. That made in German can is quite a strong one, so maybe by then, things will be in much more better shape. We will see pressure on prices. We will see more pressure on businesses itself as well. So I think it's really that environment that we're seeing now, that we can look at this window, which will disappear, which will close, to restructure, that allows Singapore effectively to make their business more efficient and more competitive. Wages are going up around the region, and that's really, I suppose, the key driver that we're seeing. Be it for construction workers in Singapore or in Malaysia, they are going up. Even in Indonesia, I was just talking to another friend, the plantation worker who is now going to be, say, employed in Kalimantan, his minimum or her minimum wage will be higher than a similar plantation worker in Sabah, for instance. So this is the pressure that we are seeing. Wages in even China itself is going up. Minimum wage, I think nationwide in China is, for this year, is around 1,400 RMB a month. It was, I think, 200 maybe 15 years ago. So we can see the trend. At that rate, maybe even fewer are going to be bus driver in Singapore, at the current rate, if bus drivers are not paid more. Anyway, so that's in a nutshell the really story. The opportunity now exists for businesses to upgrade, which may disappear, and with a much higher cost if they will do so later.
Okay, sure. So you're saying that now is the window of opportunity. So businesses should take this opportunity to restructure their operation, make themselves more productive and innovative. But from the ground sentiment, Victor, can you share with us, is this how, because you work a lot with the businesses, being from Singapore Business Federation, is this a sentiment shared by the ground that, this is the best time to restructure, or is it, we want to restructure, but the pace shouldn't be so fast?
Well, the budget by itself is actually quite thoughtful. If you look at it, it's a transitional, solving a lot of issues, structural industry issues. It solves social wage disparity. It's actually quite ambitious to try to solve quite a few challenges. I think looking from the macroeconomics, it is right that when a slow growth environment, I think where we try to actually do a catch-up and restructuring, I think the impact by right is more minimal. So by right, from the perspective of that, and that's where I think for the past few years, a slow growth environment, the productivity growth, we also don't quite see very significantly, since it's always a factor of the GDP growth by itself. Now, if we look at it, I think that the whole summary of what Professor Sam actually highlighted, it seems a very comprehensive budget. It looks good, and it helps in operational costs of workers' wage supplement, the WCS. It comes to tackling productivity, there's a PIC and PIC bonus in all aspects. So if you look at then, I think after the budget announcement, the news media coverage. And you'll be wondering if you have been reading and said, hey, how come the business's reaction comes in ironical to what is expected? And I guess within you're wondering why is it so? Because I think of all this, from productivity, the manpower requirements and all the rest, the biggest challenges that the businesses have, and in Singapore Business Federation, we did the National Business Survey. Before the budget, there were two things that they highlighted, and businesses were looking very keenly forward to. One of it was high inflationary costs. That by itself, I think we've seen rental rising, manpower because of tight labor market, job hopping around, and therefore the spiral the whole salary upwards. Plus, there were levies, which are artificial component to actually set some salary parity between the foreign workers and the local. That also pad up the cost component of a business. So that they were looking to keenly that the government could actually pay address to that and therefore resolve the issues. The second part of it was foreign workers and manpower issue. A lot of businesses were crying out loud since 2010, and we saw 2011, 2012, 2013, all the scheduled foreign workers restriction, it has been subtracting some 5%, a reduction of 5% quota. And on this component, the levy has been rising. And I think these two parts, businesses were looking keenly forward and they look towards the budget to solve these issues. And I think in Business Times or Straits Times, you've seen, they say the big manpower squeeze. And businesses were looking for relief in here. Now as on hindsight, looking back at the budget has been announced, these two issues. On inflationary part, on land rental, on business cost aspect, there have been very little policy part has been gone in there. One part, I think the commercial vehicle, I think they have put in a commercial vehicle tax rebate, and second part of it, they also have put in a PIC bonus and then some corporate tax rebate. A lot more businesses are actually bleeding at this moment. So when they see a tax rebate and they're not doing well, it does not give them a direct relief. A year ago, or the past 2 years, there were actually a one-time off budget relief that 5,000 or 10,000 that's been given out to every companies without any condition. Now this has been morphed under the PIC bonus. That requires a temporary, it needs an expenditure for companies to show that they actually invest in productivity. So all of a sudden there was a condition tied to that. And so to them, immediately they see it, this cost issue was not resolved, number one. Number two, of course, you have seen foreign workers quota actually has been further restricted. And on the third day of the newspaper, you saw construction sector was then highlighting by 2015, the levies will be $1,000 over. Just the levies itself, not even considering the manpower cost. So that actually, and then you saw two different services sector from F&B, retail, construction. F&B is highlighting that, we have no choice, either company close down or we pass on the cost to the consumers. And the other aspect is, you saw construction was then saying, if not, either one, we pass on the cost, if not, we have to actually delay the construction projects. So that is that summary of the reaction for the businesses. While I think struggling companies, small micro enterprises seems to not able to chew on this, which is a lot more tax-based out incentives. So I think they seem to see the budget had little incentives to them. Second part, those who are struggling, unfortunately, I think they do not have productivity gain. They can't give the increment to the workers too. And if they don't give the increment, the WCS can't kick in. So the supplements will come in. So all of a sudden, these guys, the struggling ones, and the micro enterprises start looking at it from a negative point of view, and therefore they look at the cup half empty. Now, if I look at it from the point of the progressive companies, those who are very willing to do productivity, they want to invest in automation. They feel that they need to incentivize their staff, they need to give the increment. This comes at a good relief because 40% of the increment are shared. And that gives them another 3 years of the increment, the government co-share, the cost burden and the manpower aspect. So this group of companies actually feel it is good, actually. So that's why you saw there's a mixed bag of reaction coming from here. Is it a good time to do productivity now? I think that's where summarizing from these two different groups, the progressive ones say, yes, I think I'll make use of this opportunity. Since things are slowing down, I could actually improve myself. But the struggling one, unfortunately, are feeling the pain, cutting down to the bone, and I think a lot of them are saying that I have no choice but be closing down. So I think that explains why the mixed reaction coming from here.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I would like to interject here. As always, when we look at a particular policy, it's very difficult to see whether it is right, it is wrong. But when Victor brought up the issue, about F&B, actually it reminded me, well, all the restaurants were complaining they're short of people. But all of us go to restaurants. They have a lot of waiters, waitresses, but they don't serve us. They stand at the corner, they talk. So to me, it's highly inefficient. And it reminded me when I was a student in London, I can only afford to eat char siu fan at Chinatown. You can imagine how long ago it was. 80p per plate, now it's £6. And because I was a student, I had to go upstairs. Downstairs for big spending customers. One floor, one waiter. The whole floor. In Singapore, the equivalent size, you'll have 6 or 7 waiter, waitresses. So to me, it is a waste of resources. We have to seriously consider how to make ourselves more efficient. I'm sure instead of employing 5 waiters or waitresses, we employ 2, but give them a 50% increase in wages. They can still serve and serve more efficiently. Good example is at SMU. Every floor we have 1 cleaner. We pay the cleaner $800. I'm sure instead of employing Malaysians to come and pay them $800 plus levy, so it's about $1,200, you pay them $1,200 and ask them to clean 2 floors. They will be happier and we are more productive. So I think some pressures have to be put onto the commercial sector to start thinking about productivity. Well, people complain about the foreign labor squeeze. I would like to look at it from a different angle. Our dependency on foreign labor is like us who are overweight. What happens when you're overweight? You have to eat less. When you eat less, you lose weight. When you lose weight, you become more energetic. But the first few months is very difficult. I want to eat my char kway teow, you cannot. But after that, when you become efficient, you can run to the store and eat your char kway teow because you become more energetic. So initially, you may be inefficient, you may suffer a bit. So I would think of it like trying to lose weight. We are trying to lose off some foreign labor, but at the end of the day, we become more competitive.
If I may just ask around here, any one of you coming from F&B industry?